Hi. Award season 2020 and I got off to a little bit of a rough start. But one moment I will never forget is Parasite's win for Best Foreign Film, Best Director, and then Best Picture. My friends and I were all holding our breath, and oddly enough, it seemed the more awards Parasite won, the lesser their chance of getting Best Picture. But excitement erupted throughout the room, and we all went to bed with smiles on our faces. The next day, who am I kidding? The next week, my social media was clogged with Parasite content. It was such a joy to see the cast's smiling faces. I mean, come on, it's adorable. However, because of this mass media exposure, common misconceptions have been made about what Parasite means. Now, I'm not gonna be the guy that totally defines what a movie is definitively supposed to say, because art is endlessly subjective. But this whole channel is based around what I think, so here we go. Something I've heard over and over again lately is how metaphorical Parasite is. Some people even say the metaphors in Parasite are laid on too heavy. One viewer used one of the first scenes as an example. At the beginning of the movie, we see a young woman complaining to the Kim family that a fourth of the pizza boxes they folded are unusable, and she refuses to pay them. The family then enters the frame one at a time with varying attempts at manipulating her into changing her mind. They surround her until she has nowhere to go, no other choice but to agree. What a beautifully timed metaphor for the rest of the movie, right? Wrong. A metaphor is a thing regarded as representative or symbolic of something else. In order to have a metaphor, you need to have three things: a signifier, signified, and a referent. The signifier is the actual thing you are seeing. The signified is the idea of the object you're seeing, and the referent is the piece of prior knowledge you refer to make sense of the object. Allow me to use an example. If I show you an image of a tree, there are three things your brain does to recognize it's a tree. First, it sees the image itself is the signifier, and then you use a referent. I have seen trees before, I know what they look like, therefore, this is a picture of a tree. And congratulations, you have successfully identified the signified idea, the idea of a tree. Now, this is not a metaphor because the signifier is demonstrating the same thing as the signified. Let's offer a slightly more abstract example. Here's a rather infamous climax mountain chart. Everyone remember these from elementary school? Well, this is one of the easiest ways to teach someone the typical structure of a story. But why do we call it a mountain chart? Our eyes see the image of a line that starts straight, inclines, immediately declines, and ends in another straight line. Our signifier is this line. Our brains use the referent of a mountain range, and even as children we refer to mountains we've seen in the past that more or less mimic this pattern, and voila! We capture the signified idea of the climax structure of a story as being the same as the peaks and valleys of a mountain range. In both examples, there was something we saw, and we had to use reference to make sense of the image before fully understanding the message, lesson, or idea behind the image we were seeing. Let's use one example from a film, Darren Aronofsky's Mother. The film follows a newlywed couple who live alone in a house in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, unexpected guests arrive at their house that tend to overstay their welcome, putting immense stress on the home and the couple. By the end of the movie, the viewers are able to see that the whole story is an allegory, or extended metaphor, for the story of our universe. One scene in particular shows the unexpected guests, a man and a woman, sneaking into the one room in the house they're told not to go in. After the man's wife convinces him to come in with her, they break a very valuable souvenir that sends Javier Bardem into a fit of stoic rage. The man and women are then told to leave the house. What's our signifier? There are quite a few, but our main signifier in this example is the story of man and woman given permission to stay in a warm safe haven under the condition that they cannot enter this one room. And what do? They enter that one room and get kicked out. And what's our referent? Clearly, we all know the story of Adam and Eve, the first man and woman God created. He said, "You're welcome to anything in the Garden of Eden, but don't eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil." By comparing the signifier with the referent, we know that Aronofsky is retelling the story of Adam and Eve in a modern-day setting, the signified. After making this connection, we can fill in the blanks. The house represents Earth, Javier is God, and Jennifer Lawrence is Mother Nature, hence the title, Mother. And so the story unfolds, and we watch Darren Aronofsky's version of the story of the universe from beginning to the end. Parasite does not have these three things. Clearly, Parasite is a story about how lower-income families often have to turn to means of income that are widely looked down upon or immoral simply to make ends meet. In America, we see a lot of this too. People turning to drug dealing, stripping, robbery, or another form of labor that people largely disagree with. Even Jordan Peele's Us comments on class struggles in a metaphorical manner. Insert subtle plug for my video analyzing Us, go watch, it's really good, yay! However, the story we see in Parasite is the story Bong Joon-Ho is trying to tell. What's the signifier? The story of a low-class family deceiving a high-class family and integrating themselves into the high-class family's lifestyle. The plan slowly starts to blow up in the low-class family's faces as they butt heads with other low-class individuals striving for the same financial and fiscal gain from this high-class family. They argue and fight for the high-class family scraps, and one individual even idolizes the high-class father almost to the point of worship. What's the referent? Real life? Poverty and the disparity between the few wealthy and the many poor is a seemingly undying issue. Poor people seem destined to turn to crime and immoral acts just to survive, while high-class people are out planning birthday parties. And what's the signified? That is it. The referent is the signified idea that the story is sending us. Parasite isn't a metaphor because it is literally telling the story it's trying to tell. Now, one could argue that the name itself is a metaphor, and it is. The word parasite is our signifier. Our referent is our knowledge that a parasite is an organism that occupies its host and benefits by stealing nutrients at the host's expense. And our signified is the idea that the low-class family acts as a parasite occupying their host, the high-class family. The title is a metaphor for the movie's story, but just because the story is referring to class struggles doesn't mean the story is a metaphor for class struggles, because the story is literally a story about class struggles. Have I said class struggles enough times yet? What about story? Low-class families? Okay, cool. Moving on. Going back to that first scene with the pizza lady, the image of the family slowly surrounding her and suffocating her until she changes her mind is not a metaphor for the family's behavior. It's a demonstration of their behavior. It's foreshadowing of the story to come. Listen, I've talked your ear off a lot so far, but I think you get the point. Parasite is many things. It's brilliant, it's artistic, it's incredibly engrossing, but because it's directly telling the story it's referring to, it's not a metaphor. Comment below and let me know if you agree or disagree. Subscribe, show this video to your friends, thank you for watching, and see ya.